Hey there, and welcome to Tech Tutoring with me, Mrs. Knuckles. Today, we are going to be practicing annotating literature for English class. Before we begin, I'd like to give you a quick overview of what we will be doing today during our tutoring session. First, we will review reading to understand and methods in annotating a text. Though reading to understand is not exactly annotating, it is an important part of reading a text, and it will be good to practice. Second, we will be reading a short myth. I chose a text that we can read together so we can go on to our third activity of the tutoring session, which will be sharing and comparing our notes. I will be checking your notes when you are finished, so be sure to make detailed annotations. For this tutoring session, you will need a pencil, a highlighter, and a lined piece of notebook paper. If you would like to use different colored highlighters or pens, you may. You should also have the notes packet I gave you at the start of the lesson. Once again, you will need a pencil, a highlighter, a piece of lined notebook paper, and the notes packet I have provided for you to make it easier for you to follow along. If you need some time to get your materials together, pause the video. When you are ready, press play to continue on to the notes section of our lesson. Now that we're all ready to start annotating, let's go over the process. We are going to start with reading to understand. The first step when reading to understand is to read footnotes. Underline words with footnotes in important parts of the footnote text. Footnotes are important because they give us insight into what the text is about. Number 2 is note vocabulary words. Read definitions to better understand words when they appear in the text. Vocabulary definitions can appear in footnotes, in margins, or before or after a text. They can also be from a separate sheet that your teacher has handed out before you begin reading the text. Number 3, read questions associated with the text. Keep these questions in mind while you are reading. If you come across a line that may answer a question, be sure to mark it. Questions can appear in the margins, before a text, after a text, or like vocabulary words, can be on a separate sheet of paper provided to you by your teacher. Number 4 is look at any pictures in the text that may help you better understand the theme. Answer any questions associated with a picture. A picture can also be the cover of your novel. Now that we have reviewed reading to understand, we can move on to annotating a text. I have provided you with a key to use when annotating a text. This key can actually be used with any text, whether it be a novel, a textbook, or an article, or beyond. It can also be used for any class, though today we'll be focusing on how to use it for literature. Here's your annotating key. Let me give you a quick overview. The first guideline is to circle powerful, important words and vocab words. Or if you want, you can circle important characters in a specific part of your novel. Also, be sure to underline or highlight powerful or meaningful phrases. You should also be putting question marks next to parts of the story you don't understand, or exclamation points next to something exciting or unexpected. Put a number next to a question or a question answer. And make sure that you are writing important notes, thoughts, or questions in the margins. Notes are very important because when you look back on your novel later, they will help you remember what you read. Now, before you start annotating, I want to give you an example of what annotation should look like. The following example is from the Odyssey, which some of you may have already read and some of you may be reading right now. First, I would like to point out that this student went above and beyond and added illustrations to their annotations. You do not have to add drawings, but it may help you remember what you read in the long run. As you can see, we have parts of the text that are highlighted, underlined, circled, and numbered. We also have some exclamation points indicating an important event. This student also added notes to their text. This is important as it is an awesome way to keep track of how you felt about this part of the novel, or to take note of what has occurred. If you'd like to look at the annotation example for a minute or two, pause the video. When you are ready to move forward, press play. Now that you have viewed an example of an annotated text, it is time for independent practice. On your own, actively read and annotate the myth Prometheus, which is located in the back of your notes packet. When you have finished, choose one question on the last page and record your answer. Your answer should be at least 2 sentences in length. You can record your answer on your sheet of lined notebook paper. As you are actively reading and annotating, you may look at your notes packet to help you remember the steps. Press pause while you work on the annotation practice. This assignment should take about 10 minutes or so. When you are done with the practice assignment, press play. So, how did you do? Now that you have completed the annotation practice, compare your notes with a partner. This should take about a minute or two. What did you do different? What did you do the same? Pause the lesson until you are done comparing notes. When you are done comparing, press play. Now that you've compared notes with a partner, compare your notes to mine. Here's an example of the first page of my Prometheus annotations. At the top of the page, you can see that I circled that Prometheus was a young Titan, so that I can remember who Prometheus was. I also highlighted Zeus because I thought he was going to be an important character in the story. As you can see, I highlighted decree and aptitude because they are vocabulary words for this reading. I also underlined important parts of the text and put numbers 1 and 2 next to lines that I felt answered those questions. I also circled an excerpt from the top right corner of this page, which says, "On the other hand, he does not know disease or a fair old age, or that inward pest called worry." To the side, I took note, "Value simple life." This is so I can remember how the gods felt about man at the beginning of the Prometheus myth. If your notes were not as thorough as mine, I'd add some more notes next time you annotate. If your notes are more thorough, nice job. You're on the right track. Either way, good job and keep up the good work. Now it's time for you to take what you learned during this tutoring session and use it in your English class. Annotating is a skill you will need all through high school, into college, and beyond, so it's important to get really great at making annotations while you read. If you have any questions about annotating, be sure to ask tomorrow during our next tutoring session, or shoot me, Mrs. Knuckles, an email. Bye for now, and happy annotating.